Alrighty, we are live, I think. Okay, great. Just gonna wait a couple minutes, make sure everyone has time to get on, and most importantly, we're gonna make sure we get Melissa here before we start right at 5 o'clock. Alright, great. Let's see. Alright, we're just gonna make sure we can get Melissa here before we start right at 5. So we're gonna take a little bit of time, make sure everything's working. Happy Monday! Another week. Let's see. All right, Melissa, if you're here, okay, awesome. There she is. Fantastic. All right. Yes, technology didn't fail me. This is very exciting. We're just going to give it a couple moments, make sure we're connected. Perfect. Looks like we are connected. I think we got 1 more minute before 5 o'clock. So we're just going to wait a little bit and give everyone a chance to log on before it officially starts. But I am so excited, I'm not going to lie. And we're getting a couple more people on here. So it's beautiful. Good way to start a Monday. Oh, right. Okay, it is 5 o'clock. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. Oh man, so smart. Grab a glass of wine. I should have done that. I want to have this water. Okay. So for everyone who is here, I want to thank you for joining us. Today we have a very, very special guest. Her name is Melissa Smith. She's here with us. And she's somebody that most of the wine collector doesn't even know they need in their life. But she can create so much value in helping you evaluate and helping you taking the right steps towards your wine investments. So I think it's really good to have her here. But before we get started chatting with Melissa, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on her. So she has actually a very diverse background related to wine. So she is a chef and also a certified sommelier and has held job in both of those positions. She also was one of the creators for the first iPhone app to help people with wine pronunciation, and God knows I need a lot of help there. And she's also worked as the head sommelier for one of the leading wine retailers in the country. And of course, in addition to that, she has hosted a lot of in-person and virtual events for many really well-known companies such as Google, IBM, and Wells Fargo, just to name a few. However, what really makes her unique, and one of the reasons why that we were so happy that she's here today, is that she is the first person to certified by the California State Bar Association for her seminar on the valuation of wine collections. And by the end of 2020, her programs are also cited or accredited in other states such as Texas, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Utah, Colorado, New York, and Connecticut, and Illinois. So she's definitely kept herself busy through the pandemic. That's impressive. So she continued to provide more and more value for more people across the country. And her work has been covered by Forbes and other major publications as well. So very excited to have her here. And currently, she's kind of pretty much flying all over the country to work on private cellar with individual wine collector. In addition to running a series of MCLE, which stands for Minimal Continued Legal Education. This is for all attorney that is actively practicing law. They must complete ongoing legal training, and she actually provides seminar for that. And she worked directly with family laws and trust and estate attorneys, where she provides a lot of resources and a lot of value for those people working on those legal cases. And because a lot of people other than just attorneys find so much value in her seminars, she's also preparing for a cross-country tour, giving her presentation on the valuation an appraisal of wine collector just for everyday people. So this is amazing that we have her here. Sorry, I was like, there's so much to cover, so I'm sorry to take up so much time to just like going through the intro. But I hope that's enough to let you know that this is the person you definitely want to have in your contact list. And there are really not that many of people like her out there, so definitely take notes. So I'm really grateful to have you here with us today to offer some insights to your knowledge. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you who are watching, make sure you stick to the end because there's going to be an opportunity later for you to sign up. I'm going to share the information for you to sign up to join us for the full immersion, the full presentation experience next month. All right, so thank you, Melissa. Thank you for being here and talking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I mean, so much to go over. But first, I really wanted to kind of jump right into it and ask you just to tell me a little bit about your journey. Kind of, this is such a unique, a very interesting aspect of the wine industry and wine perfection. How did you ended up in this field? Because I know you kind of dabble in a lot of different fields as well. So how did you ended up here?
That's a great question, and it's a little bit of a long answer, but I'll try to keep it limited. So I grew up in the Bay Area. I moved to Napa Valley the week that I graduated high school to become a chef. So I was working at the Wine Spectator Greystone restaurant in St. Helena as pastry chef. And from there, went to work at a restaurant called Terra, spent days off at the French Laundry, staging there, but also spent time wine tasting at all of the different wineries because I wasn't getting carded back then. So got some really, really great firsthand experience, not only working at the Wine Spectator Greystone restaurant, but being able to taste these incredible wines. And this was in the late 90s. So some pretty interesting vintages, to say the least. After that, I traveled the world as a chef and then landed back in the Bay Area and decided I wanted to get paid to drink for a living. So I ended up going through the Court of Master Sommeliers, getting my certification through them, and then stumbled upon a retail shop called K&L Wine Merchants that I'd never before heard of. And while I was there, they ended up wanting to bring me on as holiday help and then full-time. So I went from a floor position to the head sommelier of the company. While I was there, I just got incredible firsthand experience with these amazing wines. The owner of the company, Clyde Beffa, as you know, is very generous. So being able to experience wines from the late 1800s, 1940s, 1960s, first growths, all of these incredible, authentic wines. And then while I was there, that's when I developed the iPhone app for wine pronunciation because I saw that it wasn't just me struggling with it. So I came up with it. And that was really fantastic for a while. I stopped renewing it, so if anybody's looking for it in the App Store, it's not there anymore. But while I was there, I was asked to inventory collections, and none of the other guys wanted to do it. And I, jumped at the opportunity. So I started doing it and really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. It takes probably a special kind of person to want to be locked up in a 56-degree wine cellar for 6 to 8 hours at a time, but it's where I thrive. So while I was doing those, I was also asked to do them for insurance and legal purposes. When I told my attorneys about this, who are also my best friends, they said I needed to come up with a legal presentation. And so I did. And I got that certified by the California State Bar Association. And a notarius was really kind of getting up and running. I was getting this reputation as managing some really, really high-end collections in Silicon Valley. And then was also working full-time as a sommelier at Silicon Valley restaurants when the pandemic hit. So when that happened, I was able to really, really focus on a notarius, and I developed in-house proprietary software for inventorying collections, which makes it incredibly efficient, so much so that my rates are going up very soon. Was able to get the CLE certified in 10 other states in the country, and have just continued to learn as much as possible, prior to the pandemic, traveling to as many wine regions as I could, and post-pandemic, still getting to local wine countries and looking forward to going overseas as well. So that's kind
That
of the long and short of it.
I love it. I'm so incredibly impressed with how you, I feel like you paved the way. This is not something people are doing previously. It's a relatively new like niche. So I'm so excited to kind of get a firsthand before it really gets super big out there. So that's really exciting. And I know you're working with a lot of people in their private cellar and working with a lot of the collectors. You've seen the best and the worst and everything in between, I will assume. So with that being
Yes.
said, I know a lot of the people who are watching, they are thinking about starting their collection. So what is the one thing that you wish that every wine collector knows? Because just through your experience, what are the couple things you can tell them?
Wow. Okay. So a few things. Um, Storage is imperative. So if you're doing offsite storage, one, you want to make sure it's with a trusted place that has all of the security measures and that you're the only person that has access to the collection. Or if you're designing an in-home wine cellar, that is done by professionals that know what they're doing. There's been some tragedies with people that don't know how to properly build wine cellars. So that's big. So having a place to store the collection is one of the first things, because if you buy a case of first growth, but you bring it home to your apartment in the city and it's sitting at 72 degrees in your apartment, it's not going to be worth anything within a week. So you really want to make sure that you have a place to store it. Second is provenance. You want to make sure that you're buying from reputable sellers. You want to make sure that you're not getting counterfeits, that you're not purchasing wines that have been compromised in any way. And then the next thing, which I try to tell everybody, is to get wine insurance. Your home insurance does not cover wine collections. You have to have either a separate rider or get wine specific insurance. This is something that I've studied extensively. So never be under the assumption that an offsite storage facility provides insurance, because they don't. And never assume that your home insurance will cover it. And in California, with earthquakes, fires, floods in Southern California, and now especially with PG&E shutting the power off for 24 hours to 5 days, that can compromise an entire collection and you could lose everything. So you really, really want to make sure that when you're making this investment, that everything's covered.
So that is starting to sound intimidating. I feel like almost for a lot of a beginning collector. So what is like the starting point? What's the bar? How much can people get away with if someone wants to start a collection? How much do they need to spend realistically for them to start their first collection? You would say.
It's a great question. And if we're talking about investment, it's different than if you're talking about just a personal consumption collection. So if we're talking about an investment collection, it's great to start out in the $10,000 range and making sure that you have good offsite storage. In-home wine cellars, a really great, actually the only wine refrigerator I recommend is Lacoste. So many of these other ones offered by well-known companies, big box stores, as well as
I feel like you and I are thinking about the same producer,
yeah,
and we're just not saying it out loud because I get
yeah,
asked that question all the time, and it's
yeah,
the same. I think it's the same name we're thinking of. They always go, "Hey, I saw this great deal for this brand. What do you think?" And I'm always like,
yeah, yeah.
You agree?
So definitely don't cheap out. I I can't tell you how many times I've gone into these homes with these gorgeous wine refrigerators that I know as soon as I open the door, the shelves are going to be falling off, the labels are going to be scraping. They are the most flimsy things I've ever dealt with. So Lacoste is a brand that I stick by hands down. There are a couple of wine cellar um, builders that I work with in the Bay Area as well as around the country. So those are huge investments. But if this is something you're taking seriously, if wine is a passion of yours, why not have that reflected in your home? If you want to do it inexpensively, you can find an offsite storage facility. Again, you have to make sure it's a trustworthy place. There's rumors about a place on the peninsula where entire wine collections are missing. So you need to make sure that you are verifying where you store this collection is a secure place and insured. If we're talking about collecting wine for personal consumption, you can start on the low end. A couple $1,000s is a great place to start. I always recommend getting 3 bottles of each wine that once you discover that you like it, something that you are digging, definitely get at least 3 bottles so that you can revisit it, because by the time you're really thoroughly enjoying it, it's at the peak age, it might be sold out everywhere. It might be really hard to get. So definitely get at least 3 bottles of everything.
Yes, I cannot agree with you more on that point. 3 or more bottles, because people always come back and say, I really love the wine.
Yep.
Sorry, can't get it anymore. So good tip for there. Now, tell me a little more if you don't mind, because I know you work it was individual wine collector. So exactly why is it that you do to help collectors with their wine collections?
Boy, I do a lot. So I go in, I fully organize the collection, because I will say, out of all of the collections that I've worked on, only this one in New Jersey that I just got back from was 95 to 100% organized. Every other cellar I've been in, people they start out with a reason how they're organizing it, and then they just start throwing bottles in bins, and it makes no sense, and it's a game of tic-tac-toe. And that's so hard. It's so easy to lose track of bottles if it's not organized. So I go in, we examine what they have, how they want to grow their collection, what they want more of, how their tastes have changed, and possibly things that they might want to consider selling. So then we allow room in each column for growth. And that's a really big one, because as long as you have that, then you can manage the rest of the area. So I do that. I work with collectors on designing wine cellars, and then I work with the construction companies that actually build them out. And these are people that have been doing it for decades and do beautiful jobs with them. I do a full, incredibly detail-oriented inventory using the Inotria software. And this covers everything from vintage, producer, legal defined appellations, bottle conditions, any other notes where they were purchased, if there are stickers, price stickers on the bottle saying how much they initially paid for them. All of that stuff is in the inventory. And then we have the option of uploading that to a cloud-based system where I can assign a valuation, appraise the wine collection, send that information off to the insurance companies, and post-inventory services I provide are also brokering collections. So I work with a lot of the top auction houses and retailers in the country to find my clients the best case scenario if they do want to sell their collection, make sure that they're getting paid on time, that they're getting the best payment options, the best terms. I do sourcing for my clients. I work on getting them onto wine lists, and a lot of those things I work with them doing wine pairings. Because I was a chef, oftentimes I'll have clients reach out to me that they're doing an event and need wines paired specifically for their event. So I will do menus created around wines that they have that they might want to drink, want an excuse to open up some of these cabs they've been holding onto for decades. I will go based on the caterer's menu, pull out wines from their collection or source wines for their events, a lot of different things. I also provide remote sommelier services where they can forward me their invoices. I can put those into the cloud-based system, generate labels for them and things like that. I also do barcoding, not a huge fan of it, but I do provide that service as well.
Wow, that's like that is really impressive. I'm glad I asked you what it is that you do, because I think people probably wildly underestimate how much work it goes into just organizing a cellar, and how much work you do follow up, like the follow-up work and the continuous support that you give to the client. So that is really, really incredible. Thank you so much. And of course, if anyone's interested, feel free to leave me a comment, email me, anything at all. I will help you connect you with Melissa if you need that services. But the other thing I do also want to talk about, because you're not, when it comes to the seller part, you're not the only person that's doing it. And I know we had previous conversation, and you share with me some of the practices, because this is not a very established, regulated in kind of profession or industry, this whole seller, personal sommelier thing. So I know in our previous conversation, you share with me some of the practices that other wine experts offer to private collectors. Things ranging from like under or over reporting the value of their cellar, all the way up to just straight up stealing from the cellar. Because like you said, besides the one client you have, most of them don't even know what they have in there. So it's very easy for people to go in and kind of do a lot of interesting thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more of what's going on, what you're seeing is going on in this industry, and how do you help protect your clients?
So no matter what it is with wine, I want the clients to, know that the wines that they're sourcing are perfect, have been stored properly, that they're authentic, they're not counterfeit, that they haven't been compromised along the way. And I'll have all of those conversations with people up front. I want to know that the bottle of DRC is in fact a bottle of DRC, and it's not something that was gifted to them by someone that just really wanted to impress them, but was in fact counterfeit. I want them to know that the offsite storage, like I talked about, that they are the only person that has access to it, and that they're regularly checking it. I don't care if you live in another country, if you have $100,000, $1 million worth of wine in an off storage facility, I want you flying and checking on it in person annually at the minimum, because if someone else has keys to your collection, and that includes the storage facility, you have to make sure that what's in there is still in there. It's a huge thing. You never know when someone's going to come on hard times and bottles are going to start missing. Also, I've dealt with this a lot, and it never ceases to make me so sick that there are sommeliers from restaurants that people are very excited to have manage their collection because they have a huge name, they have a huge reputation. I've seen a lot of bad stuff happen with that. So you want to make sure that you're vetting whoever you're allowing to come into your collection, that you're continuing to check in on your collection, that you're continuing to have conversations with whoever's managing your collection. And I have retainers for my clients for this very purpose. Ask for photographic proof of what's in the collection. You need to know that what's there is there. You wouldn't put money in the bank and not continue to check on it and make sure things weren't being withdrawn without your knowledge, that you weren't being charged for things that you never partook in. So that's a big one. It doesn't matter how big the name is, you want to make sure that they are trustworthy beyond who you see in a hospitality setting. So that's a really big one. It's really big.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I thank you so much for sharing that. And I do love the passion that you have about protecting your clients and wanting to make sure everything's set up correctly and legally so your client is protected. Because I feel like so much of this industry is based on trust. And there's not a whole lot of legal structure being set up. So I'm really admiring the fact that you're getting that set up for the people that you work for. And it's funny because you're doing it to protect them. It's not doing it Thank you. So I really admire you for doing that. And I felt like I've learned so much and on things I didn't even know that I need to like watch out for as a wine collector just from talking to you for this short 20 minute. And this is just a tip of an iceberg. And I guess that's kind of all the questions I have for you today, because I know you're very, very busy. But one of the cool thing I do want to talk about is the fact that I was able to secure Melissa to do a private event with just our group. Whoever want to sign up, it is limited in the spacing because it's not just a seminar. We're also going to send pick wines together and send out some sample wines. So you can be doing what she's doing right now, get to sip a little bit while learn about wine. I'm just drinking water. I should have just prepared something. And it's the amazing part is I'm going to especially be sending this to a few of my clients who are actually attorney here in and out of states, because it does count. You said because you are accredited, so this seminar will count towards their continuing education, right? That's what you said. I mean, I'm sorry, like this is like the best continuing education like credit you can ask for as attorney, I think, to drink wine and learn about wine and be like, here it is, Absolutely. My continuing education. So I'm super excited about that. So I just wanted to talk about the day that we have on the books right now is going to be another Monday. It will be next month, so Monday, June 28th. Plenty of time for you to sign up. It will be at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And again, the space are limited. And I'm gonna right now go ahead and send a link down to this live event if I can find it. If not, I will do it later to give you guys a link and email it out to send you guys a reminder as well. But in this kind of private seminar, and we're gonna go really deep into all the things that you just touched on, because you touch on a lot of different topics, but we're gonna go deep into it. And she's gonna give us a lot of specific wine that is going to hold up well, and probably a lot of tips on how to really build up a well-rounded wine collection and all that good stuff. Super duper excited. And again, I really appreciate your time and kind of all your expertise here. I guess if you have any question, of course, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll answer all of them in the future. But in the meantime, make sure you hit up this event, and we will see you more in depth next month. Sounds good? So,
thank you. If you have any other follow-up questions after this, please feel free to reach out to me at enotrias.com. That's ENOTRIAS.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but would really, really love to have you join our event. We'll be talking about all of the legal things that we need to cover, as well as investment wines and wine collecting and appraisals in general. So it'll be a really, really great event for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Melissa. I'll make sure to send all the links below, and we'll talk to you again shortly. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Go grab a glass of champagne.
Yes. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.